So we're going to spend a little bit of time on what is it that we're doing, or what we think the future of storage looks like. Right? There's lots of roadmap on the FlashArray, FlashBlade products. We obviously have Portworx within the Pure Storage umbrella as well. And those products are going to continue getting better. But then the question becomes, where does Pure1 come into play? And the history of Pure1 has always been trying to give customers the information that they need when they need it. We have the card view, we have the planner, we have VM analytics, which are all amazing tools, but they require a customer to come in and pull information from Pure1, right? So we talked a little bit about how we're going to be sharing that information with customers, but there's a completely different angle that we can do with this information that we're using, we're collecting, and we're giving to customers. Is we can let customers take actions right from Pure1. Whenever they find something that they want to do, they don't need to leave Pure1 in order to do whatever it is that they need to do. And so this connection between the cloud and the arrays is really exciting, first of all. But Pure1 Edge Service is basically what makes it happen. So a couple weeks ago in Cloud Field Day, we had Larry Touche and Anthony Lai-Ferrario come in and talk about Fusion. And Fusion is one of the bigger product launches. I mean, I'm really excited about it. And it gives us the ability to really run an on-prem infrastructure like you might run something in the public cloud. And in order for that to happen, Pure1 had to come up with, one, a secure, probably the most important thing, and easy to use piece of technology for our customers to be able to actually implement this, right? And so we'll move on to the next slide. And this one gives you an overview of what this whole system looks like, right? Again, this is a simplified version. There's a lot of other things under the hood, but Pure1 Edge Service refers to this whole kind of situation, right? This whole end-to-end process is covered under the Pure1 Edge Service umbrella. It's made up of a couple very specific things. First, you have your Pure1 application agents. That's running in the cloud, right? That's basically how you interact with Pure1 in order to get some things done. You've got your Pure1 Edge Gateway, which is the piece of technology on the device. And you've got the Pure1 application agents on the device that can carry out actions on the devices, right? And then the connection between the two, right? You have to have a connection between the cloud and the arrays. So one of the first things that you need to do is in the cloud, you need to be a Pure1 admin in order to be able to do anything at all in the first place. But not only that, but you need to be a verified admin. And so your journey starts with reaching out to support, making sure that's all verified. And we are getting a little bit into the security part of it. But once you have that, you're able to install these agents, enable those agents on the array, and then start interacting with it.
So the agents are just bits of software that run on the array or in the cloud within Pure1. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. The agent is, I mean, you could think of it as an app or something like that. But the agent is what carries out the function of what you're trying to do. So Fusion would have a Fusion agent that enables Fusion to take the actions that it needs to on the array from the cloud.
But it's totally transparent to the user. I mean, there is nothing that I see externally. I mean, no servers, no other stuff. I mean, I have my Pure Storage array, and that's it.
That's right. Yeah.
From the user perspective.
From the user perspective, you do have to enable the Pure1 Edge Gateway.
Okay.
And we'll get into the more details about this on the security front, but we obviously, this is an opt-in feature to the nth degree, right? We do not enable anything that's part of the Pure1 Edge service automatically in any way whatsoever. The customer has to opt into every single portion of it. And that's kind of the first level of security, right? Is we don't want to force this on anyone. We believe it's the future, but it's probably going to be a little bit further future for some customers, especially more than others. So some of the more leading edge customers might be coming on to this relatively soon, but some of the more conservative customers might not even want to look in this direction for a couple of years. So Yeah. So you will have to interact with some of these terms and capabilities, but mostly just in order to enable them. And then, yeah, this is mostly backend.
Okay.
So once you have the Edge gateway enabled on the device, once you have the application agents installed, and Ralph will go into a demo of that, super easy, kind of in line with everything that Pure Storage stands for. It's one command line option that you need to pull down. We try to make it as easy as possible without overstepping the bounds of that automation, right? And so that kind of gives an overview of the higher level architecture of how things work. Is any other questions on that? Cool. So we'll get into the next one, and this is a slide that's probably going to be up for a little while, and that is the security, right? So from the security perspective, we have the cloud connecting to an array, right? Pure1 runs in the cloud, and you're creating a connection to an array that's in a customer's data center. And that's kind of scary for a lot of people. And we are well aware of that. And we want to make sure that we've done, that people know that we've done everything in our power to secure every single part of this technology. And when we talk about every single part, we have four main components, right? We've got the cloud component. We've got the bidirectional channel between the array and the cloud. You've got the array itself, and then you've got operational security, right? What are we doing at Pure Storage to make sure that Pure1 engineers are not making any mistakes and opening up security flaws, right? So each one of these make up a big part of why we think, Pure1 Edge services are going to be successful. So I mentioned
a quick question on your bidirectional communication channel.
Yeah.
I assume this is going to be a TCP connection that would be initiated by the customer.
The connection exists today via phone home, right? The bidirectional portion does need to be opted into.
So by bidirectional, are you saying that you're going to expect the customer to open up a port on one of their systems?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, most phone home systems, the customer always has to initiate the connection. And at that point, it can be bidirectional on that TCP connection.
Right.
Rather than you actually going out and touching their device or touching an open port.
What I do know is that it's TLS certified, right? We make sure that it's secure on both ends. There are a couple components on both ends in order to verify, validate, and authenticate that each one of the commands are actually valid and coming from the trusted sources. And specifically, there's a big move to zero trust, right? So there's not a single thing in here that inherently trusts anything that happens.
If you ask your customer to open up a port, somebody will figure out a way to exploit it.
Yes. Yeah, and that's a big part of why we're talking about security here, right?
Yeah. And it means the storage admin has to talk to the network admin, and we all know how that goes.
Yeah, well, we want to make sure that that every part of this is as secure as possible, right? So we are having these conversations with the storage admins. We do have customers that are testing this. We do have customers that are actively using this, specifically on the Fusion side, right? This is being utilized by Fusion, and so yes, there are absolutely security concerns. Security questions that we want to talk about. So we have a white paper that's out and available that covers a lot of the information here. So when we talk across the top portion, on the cloud side, we're introducing a couple new pieces of technology. The first of which we are doing step-up authentication. And so I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with two-factor authentication. Step-up authentication, if you're not familiar with that, is basically the same thing, but you just have to log in again, right? So you're logged into Pure1. In order to take any action that involves the Pure1 Edge agents, you will need to authenticate again. So we will send you a text. You will have to confirm the number that we send you. I think people are very familiar with this process. A lot of banks are doing this today. And
on that one-time password method, do you also permit the use of things like YubiKeys and hardware tokens, or is that on the roadmap?
I can't say that it's on the roadmap. Right now, it's the text confirmation. We will, as we're talking to customers, and if this does become something that is important to the customers that we're talking to, we will of course add it. But right now it's focused on the text-based authentication. So the second thing that we're doing in Pure1, we already have auditing and alerting. The auditing portion, every single command that's related to the Pure1 Edge services will be audited, right? And so in order to make sure that people are aware exactly who does what on the arrays, in the cloud, you will be able to see that. And that's kind of straightforward. The third piece is RBAC. So traditionally, Pure1 has had generally high-level RBAC. You had admins, you had regular users. The admins could do pretty much any action in Pure1. Users were essentially read-only. And so with Pure1 Edge services and the capabilities that they enable, we will be adding RBAC roles specific to these capabilities, right? So Fusion's going to have their own RBAC roles and policies that can be assigned in order to make sure that, hey, this person's allowed to use this, these folks are not. And so lots of work around RBAC in order to enable these use cases. A couple other things, right? On the back end, we want to prevent any DDoS attacks, right? And so there's prevention on that front where we only trust any IPs. We only trust IPs that we recognize, as well as we're rate limiting a lot of the connections, so you don't need to worry about our service going down. And every piece of information is encrypted at rest. So that's kind of the cloud portion of it. We talked a little bit about the bidirectional communication channel. And once you're on the other side of that, you're on the device. And this is where we get back into that zero trust portion. So the zero trust part of this means that any of the agents are implicitly unable to do anything without a manifest. The manifest basically says that, hey, there is this piece of information that the agent is allowed to access, whether it's commands or just, I guess it really is just the commands. But the customer will get, very similar to, I'm sure Android does this as well, but on iPhone, when you pull up an app and it requests, says, hey, this app wants to be able to do this, you'll get a very similar experience with when you are enabling an agent. It says, hey, this agent will have access to these commands in order to make sure that, everything is kind of front and center. So the customer needs to enable that. But then once you're on the array, the agent, if it ever gets to the point where the agent is trying to make a call that it's not allowed to make, that will get denied by virtue of the zero trust angle. There are, I kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier, but obviously this is entirely opt-in, right? This is not something that is on by default. This is something that you have to go in and enable. All the components are signed, verified, and checked multiple times along the path between the cloud and the array. So once we get through the kind of product level sections at the top, we have the operational portion, right? So one of the big things on the operational side is SOC 2, right? It's kind of bridges between the cloud security and the operational security, but we are going through the SOC 2 certification. I'm not entirely sure what the exact status is. I think it's just kind of in the bureaucracy of getting that confirmation. But this is something that has been a massive focus for the entire previous year is that certification. And we have a security team, and a lot of the focus right now is on, from the operational side, is on STRIDE. And STRIDE is an acronym for the security folks. They probably know it. For those that are not familiar, I will have to read this, but STRIDE stands for spoofing identity, tampering with data, repudiation threats, information disclosure, denial of service, and elevation of privileges. And it's mostly a framework in order to evaluate and understand any kind of threats that might come in, right? And so this is the model that we're going through in order to make sure that the operational angle that is locked down. Not only that, but there's obviously the traditional testing, pen testing that happens. We are running that consistently. We've always been running that, but we are going to be running it more often. Image handling and the security keys and secrets are going to be wrapped up in this threat modeling process as well. So on this wheel, you'll see a couple angles that you have, right? So cloud-based orchestration, that's Fusion, right? Fusion enables cloud-based orchestration. That's a big part of the direction that this is taking us. The support engagement piece of it, the Pure1 demo, I'm sure everybody noticed those big ugly banners, and they're kind of ugly on purpose, is to make sure that people actually look at them. But those banners, we're talking about two major events that have happened in recent times. One is the Log4j situation that I'm sure everybody's aware of. And the other one is the dirty pipe that just came up recently. So if you're not familiar with Log4j, Pure Storage actually rolled out a service that allows customers to patch their arrays without having to upgrade purity. And so that's what that banner was kind of taking customers to be able to do. And luckily with the dirty pipe, as far as we're aware so far, that Pure arrays are not affected by it. But if they were, this would be a use case where we want to enable customers to take action as fast as possible in order to patch any security vulnerabilities that happen, right? Along with that, you also have your just standard code upgrades. And again, Ralph did mention that this is one of the first use cases that we're looking to cover. We've gotten to the point where, we started with letting customers schedule upgrades. We've moved on to letting customers run tests in order to make sure they're ready for the upgrades. And we're finally getting to the point where now customers can actually run the upgrade on their own. And that is a big thing that this technology enables. And so customers will be able to run an upgrade end to end, right? Assuming that all the health checks come out green, they'll be able to just on their own come in, upgrade the array to the latest purity version, and move on with their lives without having to reach out to support. And then finally, Cloud Sync, right? So we have information that's available on the array that gets phoned home to Pure1. We also want to allow customers to use Pure1 and input information into Pure1 and sync it back down to the array. So one of the use cases there is tagging, right? So this might not be as exciting as some of the other use cases, but it does make things a lot easier because in the cloud, we have access to a lot of AI-driven functionality. So we can auto tag certain volumes and arrays. This is a direction that ultimately we want to go in. Once that happens, we want to be able to push that down to the array. And this enables a very secure path in order to be able to do that. Now, outside of this, we have lots of future use cases that we can talk about at a high level that aren't necessarily in the works yet, but one of the main things, especially around ransomware protection and remediation, is the data protection use case. And so you saw the ransomware overview that Ralph went into. You can see that, hey, you've got arrays that are not protected. Ultimately, we want customers to be able to go straight from that screen to a green status, right? And so that is something that we are going to be looking into as well.
Can you pick and choose which features you enable? Like, could I enable cloud or customer-driven upgrades, but turn off the cloud sync? Or?
Yes, absolutely. And so again, these are all opt-in, so you would never need to turn off anything unless you've turned it on in the past. But each one of these use cases would be an agent, right? Kind of an application. And once you go in, you enable the application, you get that notice of, hey, here's what this needs access to. If you've confirmed that yeah, that's good for me. I'm going to go ahead and enable it. Then it's that use case and only that use case that's active, right? And so again, this is making sure that things are broken up into bite-sized chunks. That's part of the security angle of it. We don't want to just take a shotgun approach and enable all of the capabilities that we're thinking of, because there might be some customers that say, no, I don't want upgrades to happen, but this tagging thing, yeah, that's fine. I can turn that on, right? And so that kind of granular permissions is a big part of the security aspect of it.